Hey, so welcome to GoalieShare, and my name's Kevin Muller. I'm from HockeyShare.com, and with us today we got Chris Economou. So we're excited to have Econ with us. For those of you guys who don't know, he's been the goalie coach for the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL for the past 8 years. He also runs a training facility out in Philadelphia area, and that's where he's at today. You can see he's got the Goalie Guru TV set up right behind him, which is good, and I'm filming from the HockeyShare Lounge today. But we wanted to get together and we wanted to show you some, get some free content going for you guys and just talk about, it's that time of year where we're talking about tryouts. Tryouts are coming up, and I think a lot of coaches need some help understanding what are we looking for when it comes to goaltenders. So Econ, what are we looking for when it comes to a goalie tryout?
Well, it's one of those things that it's not a black and white answer, no matter what, right? I mean, there's so many different variables that go into it. It's really an equation, right? So there are a few things that you can really dive into, though, that are constant all the time. And the first thing I always look for is what type of physical skills does a goalie have? Right? What is he able to make the save selections? Is he an athlete? Can he move around the net? Is he a good skater? And that's probably the first place that I would look. Now, before we go into the other things, I would say that you have to train those things inside a tryout. And you have to put them in a situation where you're skating against another goalie. You have to have shots or put them in situations so that you can actually see the same thing over and over again, and you'll be able to evaluate that much easier.
Interesting. So it sounds to me like, if, for example, I'm a head coach, I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of the goaltending. So it's probably best if I get somebody in who is a goaltending coach, wouldn't you think?
Well, if you can, that would be great. But even if you can't get that, you need to have someone run a goalie drill, and you can drill them. And again, you don't have to be an expert to figure out whether the kid can move or not. You're going to have a sense of whether the kid's any good or he's god awful, right? I mean, you're gonna see, and you're gonna make your own evaluation on where that kid is at, based on putting them in that situation.
Excellent. Excellent. No, that makes sense. And obviously, yeah, if you have access to a goalie coach with your program, it's good to bring them out because, again, now you're also going to bring in a fresh opinion on the goaltender. You're going to see what you see, and you can compare kind of your notes at the end of it. And so that's good. But no, I think it's definitely important to see what kind of movements the guy can do and to understand the goalie in terms.
And I would skate him right into the ground. I mean, and you'll find out whether the kid can move, what kind of cardio the kid has. A lot of guys get lazy, and a lot of kids will be lazy, and they just stand in the net. So if you skate them into the ground, you'll weed them out very quickly on what type of skating skills they have.
Excellent. Excellent. No, those are great points. So what's point number 2 then?
Well, obviously it's your gameplay. And most tryouts, you end up scrimmaging, and now you find out what type of goalie IQ the kid has. Is he able to make the right reads? I mean, in hockey schools and even in training sessions with their goalie coaches, you'll see a kid who can do the drills because you're telling them what is coming. The goalie has to have the ability to make the read himself and recognize the situation in front of him and then react accordingly and then stop the puck.
Yeah, so we're basically talking about now the difference between the practice goaltender and the gamer here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important for that kid to, I call it goalie mode. All right? What type of goalie mode does this kid have? Is he ready? Is he preparing and arriving early? Does he look like a goalie? Right? I mean, it all comes together in that way.
Absolutely, and that goalie mode, that's such a cool phrase, and we've talked about that before. It's just a cool mindset phrase that really just sums up what a goaltender's got to be.
Yeah.
And it's cool because these game situations, you see where guys understand the game or where they don't understand the game. And, seemingly simple plays, depending on what age group you're working with, where maybe a puck gets thrown down the ice, and what's the goalie going to do with it? is he going to make a play? Is he going to panic with it? Is he just going to stay in his net and let the defenseman figure it out? What's he going to do with that puck? So a lot of elements there, and I agree. Most, at least in my experience, most of the tryouts that we run always have a very large game element to them, so you can see these.
Yeah, and this is huge. If you cannot read and react and make those reads, basically you're better off just picking the shooter tutor.
Yep. Well put. Well put. And so the last part here actually kind of ties into goalie mode, doesn't it?
It really does. And if you have to evaluate the goalie's compete level at all time, I mean, you're always looking for a warrior in the net, a guy who's going to work on stopping pucks, whether you're down by 5 or you're up by 5. And as a head coach, I'm sure you'd want it. You want to have a warm and cozy feel about your goalie in the net, right?
Absolutely, and we talked about that in our prep for this call. We talked about sometimes it comes down to what's the coach's feeling about a guy. Like if I see him standing in the net right now, what's that feeling for me standing behind the bench? Is it confident, or is it, oh boy, I just hope the puck doesn't hit the net?
Yeah, that kid not only has to make you feel good, but he's got to make his team feel good too, because teams play better when they know they have a good goalie in the net.
That's interesting you say that, because I always say, especially for defensemen, and I think a lot of teams, defensemen's it's another tough role to fill, right? Because there's fewer to choose from. But defensemen develop a lot quicker when they have a solid backstop behind them, because they can make that mistake and not come back to the bench with a goal against, and then the feeling of that total letdown. They're going to know they made the mistake, but if the goalie bails them out, that's huge. That's huge in that player's development. So I agree, and it's interesting how closely those things tie together.
Yeah. And the last thing that I think about is just, does he stop the puck? Goalie coaches, there's a million different ways to play goal, and there's no one right answer. But you have to have the ability to stop the puck. If you make a good read and then you stop the puck consistently, that is the end-all, be-all of goaltending. And that's something that you have to watch nonstop. Is he stopping pucks in practice? Is he stopping pucks in drills? Is he stopping pucks in games? And that's the goalie you want to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Econ, these have been some great tips for tryouts. Hopefully all the coaches out there find them useful, and we'll return shortly with some new content.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Econ.